Well, good morning. My name is Rick Richards, and thank you for coming out today on Giving Up a Saturday. I know there's a lot of community activities going on right now. In fact, one of my nonprofits that I have represented for the last 16 years as their president has an activity. We're out there cleaning the creek up today. But I thought it was important that I would be here today. I've been on the school board now for my second term. Well, let me tell you a little bit about my personal background. I didn't grow up in Redwood City. I've only been in San Leandro for, my wife and I have been married 38 years, so about 39 years or so. I moved about a year before. I've been involved in the community. You can tell by the gray hair I've been around for a while. I've been involved. I went back and I sort of looked at my involvement, starting with Washington Elementary School, when my son went to elementary school, as the Dad's Club president in the PTA, etc. But I've gone back and I looked at it, but I've been involved in San Leandro for now almost 4 decades. It's a long time. I've been involved by serving on various committees and commissions as the chair or as a member. Some of those were for the city itself. Some of those were for the school district itself. One group I chaired for the school district was the task force on realignment of their resources, where that in the 90s, late 90s, the district was facing a very severe financial crisis. We had a committee of about 31 members. We took and broke it up so that way we had a segment look at additional funding. We had some folks look at operational, and we had some look into other areas of what we could do to make things better. We brought back pages upon pages upon pages of recommendations. A lot of those recommendations were implemented by the district. Some of those, it took a while to get implemented, such as the grant writer that the district currently has. I have been advocating for a grant writer for years. The old administration said, no, we don't need one. It would be too costly. We don't have the time to deal with that. Well, our new administration wholeheartedly supported a grant writer, and just recently we received over $14 million worth of grants. Okay, well worth the position that we have had. We're going through a phase at San Leandro High School. You know, listening to Morgan and my opponent, Hermie, I agree with a lot of what Morgan is saying, what we need to do. We just came off of a very difficult negotiation sessions with our bargaining units. It was not an easy or pleasant process, as Morgan indicated, on either side of the fence. There were things that were going on. It was a very unfortunate situation that we had to go through, especially with the state budget that we were trying to deal with. We start negotiations, then all of a sudden we could potentially be losing $3 to $4 million in income to our district. So we had to see what we had to cut potentially to save some money so we could stay fiscally solvent. We were told to stop negotiations with all bargaining units until we knew exactly where we were going to be financially. This is coming down from the county. So we went through some very, very difficult times. We were able to secure an agreement with all 3 of the bargaining units. The Teachers Association, we did get a 2-year agreement with them. The CSCA and the Teamsters Trades, we got a 3-year agreement with each one of those organizations. So it was a very, very difficult situation. A lot of things were said on both sides and done on both sides. But now is the time for us to come together, because we're there for one thing. As far as I am concerned, we're there for one thing, and that is the students in our schools. The students in our community, the children. They are what makes San Leandro great. So we need to come together to work together to resolve any issues, any problems that we currently are facing and we will face in the future. We have a lot of good things going on in our district. Test scores continue to fluctuate, up, down, up, down, up, down. But we're starting to see the achievement gap starting to narrow. It's not the largest reduction I'd like to see, but it is starting to occur. We need to deal with that with all of our students. So we are working toward that. We have, thanks to the voters' support, we have passed a $109 million bond recently for some needed repairs to our existing schools and construction of new schools. We're going to be constructing a new 9th grade campus, which will alleviate the overcrowding that currently exists on the high school campus. Once that's done, we should be able to take off about 700 to 750 students off the high school campus. So that will help the overcrowding. That also helps out with any potential issues regarding safety. As Mr. Amante indicated, he was concerned about the safety issues. We're building a parking lot that will help, once it is completed, will help take the students that are currently parking in the neighborhoods off the streets. Okay, giving the neighborhoods back to the neighbors where they belong. So the parking that we're looking at would be about 348 parking spaces, and we currently have about 220 or so on campus. So we're increasing that capacity, take the kids off the streets, as I said. We're building an arts education center because we've identified that that is something that's very critical to our district and our students. And it will house a 550-seat theater for the school to use in the community as a whole. We're modernizing our facilities at all locations. We're working on our career technical programs and buildings as well. So we're going to have about 4 different major projects going on at the high school campus at the same time and during the same time frame. So we're coming into what they refer to as the red zone, very critical time frame. We need to make sure that we do not interrupt our students as they're there trying to learn. We need to learn from the mistakes of the past and the last time we went through some major construction so we don't interrupt that process. So we have that going on. We have a lot of other very, very positive things. Equity in our schools is starting to happen. Yeah. So often you see one school would have one program, the other school didn't. There was inequities. We're seeing that those types of things are happening, that now we're getting more equity in all of our schools for all of our students, because that's what it's all about. Some of the side things that, a little bit about me, other than what I do with our schools, is that, as I said, I've lived in San Leandro for a number of years. I have been the president of an environmental group teaching environmental stewardship for the last 16 years. It's called the Friends of San Leandro Creek. We host environmental forums every year with our elected officials, from Congressman Stark, whoever shows, down to our city level, including our mayor, and the county comes in, and Ellen Corbett, our senator, and Mary Hayashi, etc. Talk about environmental issues, what's going on, what we can do to help them, and what pending legislation is going on. We sponsor a creek cleanup along with Coastal Commission cleanup. That's what's going on today. I went by real quick before I came here today, and my looking at it, we had about 100 volunteers ready to go to work. We host a watershed awareness festival on an annual basis, except for one year we had to cancel it, unfortunately, because the employee we had as a part-time employee left and went to another position, and we did not have the position filled in enough time to coordinate that effort. So we do that as well. Because of my concern what's going on in our schools, in the arts programs, as Mr. Amante mentioned, how important those are, I established a foundation to raise money for the music programs in our schools. And so far we have been able to raise, and we have donated to the schools, which is 11 schools, which is 8 elementary, 2 middle, and our high school, over $56,000. So that's quite an accomplishment. They're able to buy the instruments that they need. They're able to get their sheet music that they need, repair or whatever. So, as I said, I've been involved. There's a lot of good things going on, and that's why I'm running for re-election, because I want to make sure that we continue to provide the best that we can for our students and our staff. Thank you.
All right. Very good. Thank you.